The forest didn't feel dangerous at first. It felt quiet. The kind of quiet that settles into your chest and slows your breathing. Pine needles softened every footstep. The late afternoon light filtered through tall trees like stained glass in an empty church. Warm gold. Calm. Still. Martha liked places like this. At 63, she'd grown tired of noise, traffic, televisions, the endless hum of modern life. After her husband passed, silence had become both enemy and companion. Some days it hurt. Other days it healed. Today, it healed. She followed the narrow trail, one she'd taken earlier that morning. At least, she thought she had. The sun dipped lower than expected. The shadows stretched. And then the path vanished. She stopped walking. Behind her, trees. Ahead, more trees. No footprints. No markers. Just forest in every direction. Her phone showed no signal. The battery, 12%. A cold unease slid into her stomach. Okay, just stay calm, she whispered, the sound swallowed instantly by the woods. She picked a direction and started walking. Minutes passed. Then more minutes. The forest began to change. The air felt heavier. The silence deeper. Even the birds had stopped singing. And then she smelled something. Smoke. Faint. Old. Not fresh, but not gone. Her heart quickened. She followed it, pushing through brush, stepping over fallen branches, until she saw it. At the bottom of a shallow slope, tucked between trees as if the forest had grown around it, stood a wagon. Not a modern camper. Not a shed. A real wooden wagon, tall wheels half buried in the earth, its faded canvas rotted away decades ago. But someone had built a small wooden cabin around its frame. A strange hybrid of movement and permanence. A home that had chosen to stay. The door hung slightly open. No footprints. No sound. No sign anyone had been there in a very long time. Martha hesitated. Night was coming fast. And the temperature was already dropping. She stepped closer. The air around it felt different. Warmer, somehow. Her hand touched the door. It creaked inward. Inside, darkness waited. And the moment she crossed the threshold, she realized something impossible. The inside didn't smell abandoned. It smelled lived in. Recently. And that's when she heard the faint sound behind her. The wagon door slowly closed on its own. The click of the latch echoed louder than it should have. Martha spun around, grabbing the handle immediately. It didn't move. She pulled harder. The door stayed shut. Her breathing quickened, but she forced herself to stop. Panic never helped. She'd learned that years ago. Hospitals, long nights, waiting rooms, the slow decline of someone she loved. Panic wasted energy. Calm solved problems. She turned back toward the interior. Moonlight leaked through gaps in the wooden walls. Enough to reveal shapes. Furniture. A small iron stove. Shelves. A table. Dust should have coated everything. But it didn't. The table was clean. A lantern sat in the center. Polished glass, barely clouded. She touched it. No dust on her fingers. Her heart began beating harder. Hello, she called gently. No answer. But the wagon didn't feel empty. The stove held ashes, gray, soft, and recent. Not decades old. Not even weeks. She backed toward the wall. Someone lived here. Or had. Very recently. The air grew colder suddenly, and she noticed something else, a photograph on the wall. She stepped closer. It showed a family. A man with a long coat and hat. A woman seated beside him. A young girl standing between them, holding a small wooden horse. Late 1800s, maybe early 1900s. But what froze Martha's breath was the wagon behind them. The same wagon. The same trees. This exact place. Her eyes drifted downward. A date was written beneath the photograph. October 3rd, 1919. She swallowed. A floorboard creaked behind her. She turned sharply. No one. Yet the air felt occupied. Then she heard it, faint, almost gentle. A child humming. Right beside her ear. Martha stepped backward slowly until her legs hit the bed frame. The humming continued. Soft. Melancholic. Familiar in a way she couldn't explain. "Who's there?" she asked, voice steady but thin. The lantern flickered. No flame, yet light pulsed inside the glass. The temperature dropped further, her breath barely visible. And then she noticed the wooden horse. Sitting on the table. She was certain it hadn't been there moments ago. Small. Hand-carved. One wheel missing. Exactly like the one in the photograph. Her chest tightened. The humming stopped. Silence returned, thicker than before. She reached out and touched the toy. Warm. Not room temperature. Warm, like it had just been held. A memory surfaced in her mind, uninvited. Her own daughter's toy horse. Lost decades ago during a move across states. Her daughter had cried for hours. Martha had promised they'd find it. They never did. She pulled her hand back. The lantern suddenly ignited. A small steady flame. No match struck. No sound. Just light. And in that light, she saw footprints appear in the dustless floor, faint impressions forming one by one. Walking toward the bed. Stopping at its edge. The mattress dipped. Someone, or something, had just sat down. The wagon gently rocked, though the wind outside was completely still. A whisper drifted across the room. Not threatening. Not angry. Lonely. Stay. The word felt less heard than felt, inside her chest. And for the first time, Martha wasn't afraid. She felt, recognized. But then she noticed something new on the table beside the wooden horse. A folded letter. The paper yellowed with age. And her name was written on it. In ink far older than she was. Her fingers trembled as she opened the letter. The ink had faded but remained readable. To the one who finds our home. The wagon creaked softly, as though responding. We waited because time trapped us here. The storm came early winter of 1919. My husband left to find help. He never returned. My daughter grew weak before spring. The air thickened around her. I could not leave her alone in the dark woods. So I stayed. Even after breath left us. Martha's throat tightened. The lantern flame steadied. If you are reading this, the forest finally allowed someone gentle enough to enter. Someone who understands loss. Tears filled her eyes. Please take her horse beyond the trees. The road lies east. We cannot cross it. The wagon shuddered softly. Carry her memory where life continues. The letter ended. Martha slowly looked up. Across from her, near the stove, two faint figures formed in the warm lantern glow. A woman seated. A small girl beside her. Not frightening. Just waiting. The girl held out empty hands. Martha picked up the wooden horse. The wagon door unlocked with a soft click. Cold night air slipped inside. The figures didn't follow, they simply watched. The girl smiled gently. And faded. But the mother remained a moment longer. Relief filled her expression, a century-long burden lifting. Then she too vanished. Leaving only warmth behind. Martha stepped outside. The forest no longer felt oppressive. The moonlight revealed a narrow path she hadn't seen before, leading east. She walked carefully, holding the wooden horse against her chest. The air gradually warmed. Night insects returned. The world felt alive again. After 20 minutes, trees thinned. And there it was. A paved road. Headlights approached in the distance. She turned once more toward the forest. The wagon was gone. Only trees stood where it had been. Days later, she visited a local historical society. Old records confirmed it, a family lost during the winter of 1919. Their wagon never found. A child buried in town. The mother never recovered. Until now. Martha placed the wooden horse beside the child's grave. A breeze moved gently through the cemetery. Not cold. Comforting. For the first time since her husband's passing, the silence no longer felt empty. It felt shared. Some losses never disappear. But some are finally allowed to rest. And sometimes, the lost aren't trying to haunt the living. They're waiting to be remembered. If you enjoyed this story, please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more interesting, realistic stories. Your support helps us create even more amazing content.